Hello and welcome to A Certain Style of Podcast, episode 19.
Welcome.
How are we all doing today?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, bit of dramatic music to perk us all up.
Yeah, from that famous short film.
Yeah. The short. Well, I reckon there's a short film in Mad Max.
Yeah. There's enough.
There's not a lot in there. There's not a ton in it. Okay, I'm Guy Hawkins. I'm the host, I suppose, and I'm also here with Tim Watts.
Hello.
And Andy Coram.
Hello.
Thanks, Guy Hawkins.
And Guy Hawkins.
Cool. All right, we missed last week, so we're back, and we've been making some films.
Yeah, we've been trying.
We've been trying really hard to make some films. If you remember from the last episode, we were setting out to do 3 short sci-fi films through the month of November, and we're 2 down. We've done Andy's, and we've done Tim's, and it's mine this Saturday. What's that, Andy?
I can still hear the music.
I know you can.
That was the.
That's fine. That's all right. I'm just trying to create an atmosphere, but all right.
It's good.
I'll just dip it off and we'll just listen to ourselves.
Keep going.
It's just nice. It's nice music. I really like that soundtrack. It's just like it's very good.
Dramatic.
It was very dramatic.
Yeah.
I forgot it was that dramatic at the start, but whatever.
Cool.
Like I say, we need to wake up because we were very tired from making films.
Yeah.
It's been interesting.
As opposed to talking about making films.
Yeah, which is what we spend most of our life doing. Yeah, it's been alright. We haven't finished any one of them yet, but we've been learning some stuff, learning how to do things quickly. You guys have been probably thrust into the deep end of an area of filmmaking you've maybe not been in before, which I think is quite neat.
Yeah,
because we've each taken one on as our own film, and with the support of the other two, try and make a film. But I guess I have more of a background in directing, and you guys are the more post background. So actually, taking control of a film is not something you guys have done before.
No, indeed.
I have used cameras and stuff before.
Absolutely,
but no.
But the whole package of
trying
to get something from start to finish
and
making it coherent and getting it done is definitely something that is tough to learn. So how's it been? Andy, yours was first. Yours was like 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I guess I had a sort of an idea that I'd been playing around that kind of came from some other ideas that I'd been playing around, but with. Do you want me to talk about the plot of it?
You can do
the process.
You can do as well. Do just talk.
Yeah.
Talk about your experience making a short film.
I had some ideas for some sort of special effectsy type stuff, which are kind of quite interested in, that like glitchy sort of aesthetic and stuff like that. So it all kind of came together, and also the fact that we only had a day to shoot it, pretty much, and one actor. It all kind of focused in on this one idea, but then I guess the meeting up on Friday before we shot it gave us a good way of kind of working through the logistics of how we're going to shoot it, as well as the narrative, which was it was a good process, because I had a few ideas, but I hadn't written anything down, so sort of going through it as a in a group and kind of ironing out some of the creases and stuff was good.
So we've taken the 48-hour model for these films. I think we explained last time, but we'll do it again. You generally come up with the idea on the Friday night, shoot it Saturday, edit Sunday. And that's kind of a 48-hour period whereby you create an entire film. And we've not been sticking to that particularly strictly because we don't have anywhere for these films to go. But it's been nice to try and sort of force ourselves into that time frame to actually get stuff done, because I think we've got way more done than we would have done if we just gone, okay, well, let's plan one of these films for like a bigger thing. I think we would probably still be planning your one to this day, and we wouldn't have got anything done. So it's neat that we've not finished them, but we've started them.
No, we've got a good start, and I think it gives us a good footing to carry on. And now we've done it, we've started it, you've got to sort of see it through. It gives you more motivation.
Yeah. What about you, Tim? What are your thoughts on the short films?
So yeah, I had quite a few different ideas leading up to my slot, but they all turned out to be a bit too big, I think, for a weekend shoot, and yeah, sort of quite a lot of prep work involved in quite a few of them. So I felt very unprepared for what we ended up shooting, and I relied a lot on you guys to help me film anything at all, I think. But nevertheless, I think there's definitely some good stuff in there, and there's some ideas in there. And I'm definitely happy with the way a lot of the stuff came together. Yeah, I mean, I would say that it gave me a fresh appreciation for what you do, but I kind of already quite aware because I've been with you on quite a few shoots, and yeah, I mean, what you can do is definitely different to what I can do. So I yeah.
But no, I think it's great that you guys are kind of experiencing that side of things, because that's what I've been doing, and it's just when it's your idea, you take a totally different attitude towards it, and when you're in an environment where you're like, okay, we are going to make some short films, and your idea at the very last minute goes, an actor's pulled out, or the location's fallen through, or we can't actually do this, and you go, okay, well, we're definitely shooting something this weekend. And that's the kind of mind race to figure out how you actually get something done. And that's probably one of the most important things about sort of short filmmaking, and certainly 48-hour filmmaking. Yeah, absolutely. Not being too precious with your idea, and almost going, well, if it doesn't work, then we'll try and salvage something from it. But definitely actually going forward and making something with those cool ideas, you should definitely start with the big ones. I think if you start with the big idea and then bring that down, rather than start, if you start small and go up, it doesn't work as well. You just end up adding on stuff to something that doesn't need it. Whereas if you start big and go small, it's you just more refine the story more and more.
Yeah, I think I found that having kind of, when we were working through the narrative of mine on the Friday, we had some ideas of where the narrative could go and stuff, but then we sort of had to rein them in to sort of fit with the locations that we had available and the time frame. And I mean, I think we did manage to get 3 filming locations in a day, which was
it's not a good idea. Let's not do that again.
No, I think we've sort of found that changing location is quite time consuming, especially when you've got to get across Oxford. But
don't drive in Oxford.
No. But I think having experience like that kind of gives you a good setting for future projects where you realise, okay, let's keep it.
Yeah.
So how's it for you? Because obviously your full-time job, you're used to basically directing something else that isn't your idea, that somebody else wants to have done.
Yeah.
However, you usually have a brief.
Yeah, well, I mean, so let's pay attention to the thing.
Or at least it's in your head.
Absolutely. Let's pay attention to the thing on the table, because it's there and we haven't introduced it yet. So there's a puppet on the table, which is from one of the short films from last year. He doesn't have a name. I kind of feel like when this podcast and website gets big enough, we'll have a naming competition. But if I did it at the moment, there'd be no contestants, and it'd just be depressing. So he doesn't have a name, but he was a major character in one of the short films from last year. And
Outdistance,
yeah. There you go. There's a plug. Check it out on the website, certainstyle.com. If you haven't already, most people listening to this have seen it, but watch it again. Watch it on a different computer and get the view counts up. That's my advice. So
it doesn't register each time you watch it from the same?
I don't think so. If it does, I am spending not enough time doing that. I came out of last year wanting to do what we're doing right now, is not do so many of my ideas and do other people's stuff, almost to pay it back a little bit, and to also just try and, because I will never do it on my own again to that extent, because it's an absolute nightmare. And you guys are kind of hopefully understanding, making short films, making films for low budget and for no reason other than your own self-fulfillment is ridiculously hard. So I'm trying to I guess covertly get you guys up to do more, so we can all sort of go onto a shoot and I guess, work better, because yes, I have more experience, but I don't necessarily have all the ideas. Like, I think from last year they were wearing a bit thin, and yeah.
So
I liked.
Did you find it hard?
I know I liked working with you guys because it's like I like solving problems, and I like solving problems quickly, and I like thinking through story ideas very quickly, and that's quite fun when it's not your idea, because I spit out more stuff than I would do if it was my idea. If it was my idea, you do that thing which we all do, and we're like, no, that's not what's in my head, and it's like, but at least people around you are coming up with these like idea generations, and I quite enjoy doing that for other people, because although people say no, it's just nice to be sort of saying that stuff out loud and park it for next time.
Yeah.
So no, I enjoy that a lot.
And I think learning from you on the set and stuff, where you especially when you've got an actor and you have to tell the actor exactly what to do, you literally have to make decisions. This is how I want it. You can't. It's difficult. I mean, you having an experienced actor like Bert who can improvise a bit and sort of work with the ideas, and give it some of his helped a lot. But I think I found sometimes when I was trying to give direction, I was sort of being a bit too vague and maybe sort of saying, so what do you think?
Everyone does that. I do that far too much. I do too much talking, and there's definitely an art to getting it down to something more succinct that an actor can understand very easily. I was saying to you guys the other day, it's like I do want to try and do more somehow in being in front of the camera and have someone say that stuff to me, so I kind of know what isn't necessary. But at this level, you generally aren't working with people. They understand the short film process, they understand low budget filmmaking, so they understand that everything is going to be a little bit no one quite knows what's going on all the time, but the more we do, the more you get better at that. But definitely having actors is, because a lot of the time you fall into the trap of like, oh, we need someone, so let's just put anyone in front of the camera. And I think from again learning like from last year, it's like trying to take the time to make sure you've got that person in front of the camera who is like at least half aware of what acting is and has an interest
comfortable
in it. Yeah, because they will bring so much more to it than because otherwise you do have to literally tell them or ask them to do like, you need to look like this, you need to do this, and at this point you need to be doing this, whereas someone who's done some acting before will naturally hit those things, and you can just get away with just filming them. And even though they're not doing exactly what maybe you had in your head, they are doing something, and you can kind of go, okay, that's actually pretty good, and that's what they do well. And you were then, it's another thing to adapt to. You adapt to that person's acting style, and that's very interesting. Like trying to get new people who you haven't worked with before, you sort of see how they do things, and that's actually very interesting. So
yeah, it was interesting working with Mark, even though it was quite a short process. It was very much just like, oh, would you do something like this, and he just like comes out with either something quite confused or quite like joyful or whatever, and you're just like, yeah, that's good, or no, something different. It's like, how about this?
I think me and Tim found it quite uncomfortable being in front of the camera.
So do I. We got to do that more, because it's going to happen more and more. And we almost need it to happen more and more, so that we are something that we can semi-rely on as like being like a bit part or an extra. You always need someone to do a walk-in part or just deliver one line, and the better we get at that, the more useful we become in that respect. Because there's three of us, and we're not always going to be like doing something on set. So we need to get better at that. For our own sakes.
And I guess the more
it's very hard though. How do we get better? I mean, you can watch yourselves and cringe, but other than that,
I think being comfortable in front of the camera is probably a key thing.
Well, that's why I started doing this. It's like this, what we're doing right now is that training. It's like there's a camera there, and there's no real need to film this other than sometimes we have cool stuff on the table, but other than just getting used to there being a camera there, and occasionally we recognize that the camera's there and do something towards it. And when you do that and you watch it back and you go, okay, that's kind of it was natural in that. And us talking aloud to whoever is listening to this, we're getting better at that, and it's going to take us a while, but we are hopefully getting better at it every other week. So we're already doing things to improve that, and it's like we're just going to keep doing more and more and more and more and more, so we have more ammunition,
so we can try out more ideas.
Yeah, a little bit, because the hardest thing is getting actors. It's like we have a unique situation to be in, which is sometimes the other way around. It's like sometimes you have an actor who was like, I can act and I really want to do this story, but I don't know the crew, I don't have the kit. And we have the kit and we have the expertise to work the post side of things. But if three of us were in a room like we are now and we go, okay, we've got this cool idea for a film, it would be good to be able to go, okay, actually you could probably do that, or you could probably do that, or I could probably do that in camera. It's like, even if it wasn't like the best decision, at least it would get it done, and we'd make a film rather than just going, I'm an actor and no one's available till like next month, and then the idea goes away and like everyone else gets busy. So it's like being able to make those snap decisions is something that I'm trying to put things in place so that we can do that at almost the drop of a hat. If we've got a free weekend, it's like make a film or make something.
Yeah.
It was hard doing, because mine ended up being quite a few varied effects tests, and not having any planning for any of those was like,
yeah, but again, that's something that we've been trying to do. Like, I mean, I understand where your expertise lie in doing post at the moment. It's like that's what you guys do. So having you as a like an asset, like on set or after a shoot, even if you're not on the shoot, like to be able to go, okay, I need this thing added in. It's like I know I've got people who can help with that. You guys we've done these 3 sci-fi films to kind of almost enhance and get some more effects tests done, because 2 out of the 3 of us do that for a living. So these 3 films have kind of been geared towards it's almost a situation where the post idea has kind of come first, and then you put a story on the back end of that. And I think that's neat. That's exactly what we should be doing, because it flexes your muscles and it also allows you to learn how to put that into a story. So I think that's.
And I think that lends it well for this kind of setup where you've got the idea has got to be, simple, kind of short, and succinct. I can't say that. So I think if we've got sort of ideas on the technical side of things, and I think both me and Tim found that actually like sort of working on what's the least we can do on set, that we can then get with later. And I think that sort of stuff is really useful for us.
It's really nice having you guys there doing that sort of like makeshift green screen, and then knowing that you are the ones putting that in place and making the decisions, and then knowing that you're going to have to work on it later on.
Yeah, we made the wrong ones, I think.
Because I've been giving you stuff before, and it's like that is a byproduct of like short filmmaking. It's like your effects stuff isn't going to be this great green screen with loads of trap marks. You're just going to get something green screen if you're lucky, and working quickly and again making those snap decisions, so when you're on set you can go, this is going to be a post shot, this needs to be a post shot, we have to do this, and you go, the
infamous line, we can sort it in post.
Andy, you must have said that 20 times.
There was a lot of that, considering
it's like
I'm never going to say we can rotoscope it ever again.
It was just it was that you did the flying thing. One of the effects in Tim's film is a flying effect, and you did it. You were the actor in that one, and you just started waving your arms around, and then the second you saw that clip you're like, I wish I hadn't done that. But it's amazing how that stuff, and it's really great that you guys are there, it's amazing how that stuff just doesn't compute in your head, because you're working like fast, let's get this done. You go, that'll probably work, and it probably will. It'll be a bitch to work with, but it will probably work out.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's only by making that mistake and going, actually, I could have done with a bit more green screen. It's like the next time we go out, it's like, has everybody got lots of green screen? And we'll bring more. So when you go, I need to put some green screen here and some green screen here, we can do that instead of going, we've got one sheet.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. But to be fair, we kind of knew it.
Yeah.
It kept on being blown down. So
we either shot it indoors or it would have. But maybe
I mean, we basically considered, if this one doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And
so I'm
that
kind
was
of
nice
persevering.
that we were shooting a series of short films in the short film that were able to just add or cut in theory.
Yeah.
But
I mean, even using we didn't really like, because we didn't think we might even be usable. We didn't really spend too much time with the green screen even on the floor and stuff, and I was amazed at how well that did key out, even even with like lots of shadows and stuff. So I mean, you know, stuff like that's really good. That, you know, if you don't have time to have a nice flat green sheet, like just just chucking a sheet over something is a lot better than not having anything.
I was going to say, what difference do you think it made putting green screen on the floor?
It didn't help me at all, really. But
I look at that and I go, you know what? Could have just filmed that without any effort at all, and it'd be pretty much the same amount of work. Yeah,
pretty much. But you know, again,
that's good. That's really good to hear. It's like great. You want that. Yeah. You want someone.
It would
who
have
can
been
go,
a lot easier if we had been able to get the green screen to stay up.
Yeah. Bring some stands.
I think that would have also been a good. But you know, as you say,
the stands were on their widest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just very windy and cold.
Okay.
And I didn't want to stay out there too long.
that was.
So, I mean, 3 degrees.
I mean, seriously. So it was about this time last year that I did all that effects stuff, or maybe it was January for the outdistance film. Yeah. This one, and it's like, so that was.
You did a good job on that.
No, I know, but that's the thing. That's like, I was trying really hard to go, what is, like, because I think you knew you were going to be working on it, or it's like, what are Tim and Andy going to need for this? This was for outdistance, so this was Tim's work for that, you know, the big establisher at the start with the cityscape.
Yeah, that wasn't this time of year.
No, so you know when we shot it in the summer, we shot most of the stuff in the summer, outside. And I needed to do those green screen shots again. So it was me, Sam the actor, and Chris the cameraman, and it was just the 3 of us, and it was cold and it was windy, and I had the green screen we were working with, so this is fabric green screen that needs a fucking good iron, that was covering the main portion of Sam, who's the actor, so like basically covering his body so you can cut him out nicely. And then there's 2 strips of paper green screen going across the fence, because the fence needs to be cut out as well, and it was just like that was blowing over all over the place, and it was like just like, okay, it's got to move angle, so instead of just turning the character around, which you would normally do in a studio, you could just like put the camera anywhere and you got green. We were like, okay, we've got to move the camera, we got to move the green screen around, and it's like it just blows over, and you're like, it's just the second you can go, we don't need to green screen this, like we can work with that, it's like a godsend.
Yeah,
because that was a
even
nightmare.
though you can do it, it saves 2 hours, and then you get a load of extra shots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that was a real
you
pain.
ended up using the green.
I did use green screen. Yeah, and I think I don't know. Did it did help? Tell me it helped, Tim.
A lot.
Good. Honestly. Yeah. Good. No, because
I mean, there would have been a lot that I'd have had to rotoscope otherwise. I mean, for sure.
Because there's quite a lot of shots in that initial opening sequence.
I mean, it didn't need to be that much wider than him, but I think it's pretty much the same effort.
Yeah.
Either way, so no, it was good.
Yeah, effect shooting on a budget. It's hard. But no, it's good when it comes together. Like I think Outdistance is a good case. It's like I wanted to make a sci-fi film. I wanted to make something that was a bit bigger than normal, and it's like, okay, well, just push yourself to put up that green screen and go, let's hope this works. And it kind of paid off.
Still wish I'd made it look a bit better.
I think it worked.
It's good. Again, it's the same thing. Like that was what these films that we've been doing for the weekends, trying to do them within the 48-hour time frame. It's like my films from last year had a deadline. It's like I set that after I'd shot every single one Monday to January to December. It's like very quickly I knew I'd have to edit my ass off, and I was like, okay, well, I'll give myself 4 months. And I booked this viewing, and I put out the invitations like in January to make sure that I worked my ass off during that period to get it done. So it was like you're working to that time frame, and the fact that you're working that time frame got it done, and it got it done to the level that was acceptable within that time frame. It's like you can't get stuck on effects, because, and this is what might happen with your ones, is that you go away and it's like, oh, I'll work on that a little bit more, I'll work on that a little bit more, you get busy working on it a little bit more, and it never gets done. So it's like it's so important to try and get those deadlines in, and you can always make effect stuff better. By the time you've been working on something for 3 months, there's some new way of doing things that you've learned, or there's some new way of doing things based on technology that's come out, and you spend another 3 months making it better on top of that. And you had that experience with your game, right? Because Tim's making a game.
Yeah,
is making a game, but you spent quite a while getting things the way you wanted it, and new stuff was coming out, out.
Yeah, but that was largely driven by learning, so it's slightly different. But I know where you're coming from. Like, I could certainly imagine having this problem with my film, this short one that we've just done, because there's probably quite a lot of effects still left to do. But you know, I want to get it done. Yeah.
Good. I'm going to try not to put any in mine.
I mean, I like the fact. I like the idea that we should try a bit harder on the practical effects front. I think we should learn a few more tricks.
Yeah,
do
we will.
a few more things.
And we will.
What do you mean practical effects?
So the one,
Like
The ones that we don't end up doing afterwards.
yeah, no. Again,
in
it's,
camera type.
Yeah, it's all about like not giving yourself like a headache when you come back to the edit suite. And you guys did a teleportation effect in camera, and it's like, yes, you did a little bit of work on top of that, but you didn't necessarily need to. It's like if that had to go out the door for that. Let's say we were submitting something on Sunday, we shot it Saturday, had to edit Sunday. That would have gone and been absolutely fine without any work done to it at all, and that was all done in camera.
Yeah.
Mark managing to disappear in like 10 frames. It's just insane.
That was impressive.
Yeah.
So the Mark we're talking about is in Outdistance. You can see him as a character called Stan acting alongside the puppet here.
Full name? Mark Woodruff.
Mark Rodel Duffy.
Rodel Duffy.
So he's Irish in that. He's German in Tim's film.
He is, yeah. It's a man of many voices. We also did an interview with him a couple of months back, which you can see on the website. Second plug of the day. I think I should do it more.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I get like a pop-up in Facebook that someone else has looked at the site, and you're like, don't know who that is, but that's good.
It's someone new. I was going to say, I don't know whether it's preaching to the choir of the...
Sometimes.
Hello, Graham. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Graham. Thanks, Fraser. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Gemma.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tim and Andy, because you're listening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Nice. All right, that's covered. All right. Do we want to talk about Star Wars?
You want to talk
I
about
want to talk about Star Wars. I want to talk about Star Wars because it's slightly related to the short film thing.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Go for it.
Oh. Well, so framing this is, it goes back to George Lucas. Like, he was in a similar situation that we're in now, where he was like a student and just wanted to make stuff that was more interesting than your everyday sort of short film. And he went and made THX 1138 as a short film. And then that got lots of attention, and he made that into a bigger film, into a feature film. And then he did American Graffiti, and then he did Star Wars. And he took a lot of that sort of attitude that we've been talking about. It's like, just get it done. It's like, get it done with what you have, and you are going to have to like beg, borrow, and steal all kinds of things, especially when you're making a sci-fi film. It's like, it does become like you have to make stuff out of nothing. Like Gemma made some of the props for that film, and it's like, I know what they're made from, and it's just household things sprayed a color. And like, massive respect to him for getting that film done. I think it nearly killed him, but it's interesting watching A New Hope again. I haven't watched that film for quite a long time, and I know, Tim, you've watched it recently. And I don't think I've ever fully appreciated that aspect of it, like how much of it is kind of shonky. Like, that is a it's a janky film.
But there's
so
in a way, in episode 4, it's more janky. I mean, in episode 1 than episode 4.
No, I was
Really?
a little bit disappointed watching A New Hope the other day. It was yesterday.
Yeah.
I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh my god, there's some really bad stuff in here, and it really doesn't help that the special edition stuff is in there as well, because that just makes it way worse. It's like, if it was all a bit rubbish, it would fit, but it's all a bit rubbish with some a bit rubbish effects on top that are a little bit better.
Well, I thought
than
they
what
helped, because I thought they looked more rubbish than the rubbish bits.
No. I think it would have been, it's slightly more of its time if you just let it go, whereas you've got that new stuff added in. It's like, why didn't you tidy this bit up? Why didn't you tidy that bit up? You probably should have tidied this bit up. It's like the bits they focused on weren't things that needed to make that film look a bit more
that's
polished.
absolutely true. I mean, I don't understand why they added anything to it.
I resent the fact that you can't actually get hold of the original, like a good quality original.
It's
version.
coming. I think it's coming.
Do you think they'll?
Yeah, because
bring it out after this?
I would. Yeah, I think so.
Because there's a load of fans actually did
they stitched it together.
Yeah,
didn't
they stitched it together from all sorts of resources.
Yeah. So if you go online, there's a HD version of episode 4, 5, and 6 with all the special edition stuff cut out. And these guys have put it together in the highest resolution possible, which is worth a look. But I noticed the audio a lot because I watched it through like I guess a half decent sound system.
But
so
is this
I had
the new edition?
no. This is the special edition.
Yeah.
So this is like.
Because I think they screwed up a lot of stuff, including the grade. If you've got the special edition, everyone looks pink.
The grade's not too. It's not the grade I noticed. It's the sound is probably the biggest offender. And I watched it again. Like I say, watching it in this sort of way, having done all the films that I've done. It's kind of and having you watch Star Wars when you're a kid, and you just doesn't matter. You don't notice the technical stuff. And then, like I said, I haven't watched it for a while. But there's a lot of sound where you're like, oh, that was boomed differently to this, and they got a good sound there, or they ADR'd that, but they had to clean this up. So you've got like a scene where it cuts from one person to the same person, one shot, and then it cuts to them in another shot. The sound's completely different. You're like, oh my god, that stands out a mile. Yeah. And like the sets, and then running and shooting guns, it's like there's like very little feedback to the guns shooting.
Some of that stuff is so
yeah,
bad.
it's really bad. He's just like going. So it's not like he's got a recoil. He's just going.
But it's worse than that. It's like, do you remember the scene where he goes into the Millennium Falcon when he's being like Jabba the Hutt?
Yeah.
Like, chase. It's like he's pointing his gun at the floor pretty much while he's firing. It's like it's awful, but that doesn't matter. I mean that.
I think if I'd seen the version, if I'd seen the non-special edition, I would have forgiven that a lot more. But because that special edition stuff's in there, it's just like you can't tidy up the bits that need to be tidied up.
Well, I agree that the idea is a mistake.
Leave it alone and just don't try. And I know that's the big argument for the special edition. Some of it's okay, but it was just like there's a lot of bad sets. There's a lot of bad props. There's a ton of bad acting. There's a ton of bad line delivery, and there's
but only compared to sort of today's standard. I mean, if you compare it to then,
I know I was just just so surprised, like how I was watching it, and I was just like, huh. I really like The Empire Strikes Back, and we saw that not that long ago. But that A New Hope is not a great film. I will go so far as to say it's a good film given the circumstances, and how he got it made is a fucking miracle. But it does not look like a Hollywood film. It looks like a student made it, and it was essentially, which is cool, which is very cool. But also, like, I've never noticed that before, and I don't know why.
How did he get so many well-known actors? Like Harrison Ford.
He's friends with a lot of people.
He was big then? He'd been in...
Well, he was in American Graffiti, so he'd already used him in a film. Like, he didn't want to use him as Han Solo.
But he hadn't really done much else.
No, he hadn't done... No, I mean, they were all super, super young.
Yeah.
Which shows as well. But it's really funny, again, like, concepts like the Force and listening very specifically to the things that Alec Guinness says, and even he doesn't come off very well from it, like talking about the Force. It's like the second he meets Luke, like, you must learn about the Force, Luke, here's your lightsaber, and you're like, what? And then Luke's like, aunt and uncle die, which is spoilers, and then he's like, I want to come with you on Alderaan, and then they go, and it's just like the pacing's really weird. It just affected me in some way that never has done before.
I need to rewatch.
That's really interesting. It's like you got blinkers on. I mean,
totally. And Star Wars definitely does that. Star Wars is definitely the untouchable thing until you analyze it and you go, maybe it's not so good. I still like it. Empire Strikes Back makes up for it because they obviously had a successful film that they had more like budget and like production to put into that film, and The Empire Strikes Back holds up, and Jedi holds up despite some of the Ewoks and little things like that in it. But A New Hope is so very, very different from those two films. So very different.
But you see, I didn't quite feel the same. I felt like, considering how much the budget and everything ramped up, I assume.
No,
after New Hope,
I
don't feel like it really matched.
I think they did. I think because they did similar techniques and they did similar things, but they had longer to shoot it and they had like an awareness of what they were at that point. In A New Hope, they're doing the effects in similar ways. They're just doing it quickly and learning as they go, and that shows. When they get it right, it looks spot on, but when they get it wrong, it's just like, that's not right. And it's the same with the acting, and the same with the story. It's like no one really knew what that story was. It's like it goes on about, like, I always have this problem with what the Jedi and what the Force is and who remembers that, and it's referred to as like an ancient thing by these Imperial guys, and there's a guy who's like, that your Force powers haven't like allowed you to like hunt out the rebellion or whatever, and then Darth Vader strangles him, and you're like, you must have some respect for that, and you would have been alive at the time when Jedi were still around, given the prequels. And it's like all that stuff starts to not make sense, and that prequel messing up canon is an entirely different argument and story altogether. But it's just weird. It's really weird. The Force is like, it's just not handled right.
Well, maybe he didn't really have an idea what it was then either. It was kind of...
I'm not sure I'd go that far. I'd say that it's not something... It's like it should be something that you're aware that you don't think too deeply about. Because as soon as you do, you run into problems. It's a little bit like time travel in that way. It's like paradoxes are interesting and cool, but as soon as you start like exploring them, they quickly start to unravel. And it's like, it's the same with the Force.
Yeah,
it's a really cool idea. It's really interesting. You look too deep, and it's like,
yeah. Well, we tried, didn't we? We
What
tried to look into it a bit deeper, and it's like it just didn't work.
What were the,
Like,
what were the little organisms?
Midichlorians.
Midichlorians.
Yeah,
they sort of crowbar that in the.
But I don't know. I suggest, because it's really hard. It would be great to do like a running like commentary with it, like watching that and just talking about it, because it's way easier than like even last night. I can't remember some of the stuff, but it's just the way two characters meet, and then suddenly you're given this massive like plot thing. It's like the second he meets Luke, and he knows Luke because he knows him by name, and Luke knows him, and they're in his house, and he's just like, oh, your dad wasn't this, he was this, just assuming you know what like a Jedi Knight is. And it's like that. It just doesn't fit story wise. We should definitely watch it. You should watch it again, Andy.
Yeah,
and then we should definitely watch bits of it and just like, yeah, we should probably pull it together and go like, well, this scene is odd because of this. I can't think of a better way of doing it, but it really affected me in an odd way. Like, I still had that student film respect for it, but yeah, I've never watched Star Wars in that way before.
But you are, you know, don't forget, comparing it to, like, I think it's really, really easy to not realize how much progress things like films have made in our lifetime. Like, we don't see it. It's such a gradual thing. But you do go back and you do look, and if you pay attention to those things, you go, oh my god,
yeah,
that was a big film at the time. I don't remember that problem.
Yeah.
Even bad green screen. I looked at some of that, like some of the most recent Star Wars, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't remember it being that bad.
It is bad. They're having the so they've set all this stuff up about like the Jedi being like a little bit ancient and no one really knowing who they are. Like, you got Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, and that's pretty much it. Han doesn't believe it. Blah 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 blah. And then like the guy's given the speech briefing the rebel pilots, and he's like, that's the first guy to say like, may the Force be with you. And you're like, why does he know about it, and why is that significant to them when all these other people like don't pay attention to it? It's like, why
that's
them?
Probably overanalyzing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I'm really going into more detail, because again, it's almost this standalone
that's just a
film.
device to say it to Luke.
But it's just weird, and then Han says it, and you're like, what? What's
but maybe
going on?
the rebels
so,
remember
so
they've kept the ancient
but
the
it's
ancient rituals, but that aren't that old.
Yeah, no, it's just I don't know, it's weird. Like, there are a couple of characters, like the Imperials, when they're having that round table discussion, and that guy sort of like saying the Forces and all that, and you're like, you've been under Darth Vader's like rule for a while, and you've probably seen a ton of people get strangled to death. It's like, you should probably not call him on it. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because I've never watched Star Wars in that way, and I still like Star Wars, but
When
it
was
just
the last
makes
time
me.
you watched it?
I think it was when I was at uni, so it would have been like 2000. It was when they came out on DVD for the first time. It was like 2004.
That's longer than I expected you'd leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost 10 years.
I think
it is 10 years.
I think that that explains a lot of like how you're feeling, because that is quite a big difference in time.
Yeah.
Weird. I've been really shocked by episodes 1 and 2. I rewatched recently. Just how bad they are. I mean,
we watched the trailers. They were funny.
I remember how bad they were from a story point of view, but I didn't remember how bad they were. I didn't notice like
side.
The production side, the green screening, the lighting, the sound, the like.
Oh, the new version. The new 3. Yeah.
But I mean, this. I was thinking about that as well. It's like, because George Lucas went back to direct those after having not directed stuff for a long time. So I think he didn't really learn how to direct films. He learned how to do it the student way and the scrappy get it done way, but he didn't learn how to do it.
But then he was trying out all these new toys
but
as
he
well.
didn't. Yeah,
with
but
CGI
he didn't. Yeah, he
and
didn't.
stuff like
Yeah, he didn't know how to do it in a slightly. You've got money, kind of way. And it's like I kind of feel like if with episode 1, 2, and 3, it's like he was in the same mindset as he was when he made Star Wars in like 77, but he had loads more money, so he could just kind of go, well, this irrational decision and this, like, let's just do this, it's like that's done, and that's why they're messy films. It's like he just got a little bit lucky with Star Wars, so when he makes 1, 2, and 3, he's just got a lot more money behind the very strange decisions that he makes that are like, I don't know, maybe plan this too much, and I know that's rich coming from me because I don't plan a whole lot either. I just kind of feel like that's what would happen to me if I suddenly got given the budget for episode 1 and went to make it. I'd be like, I wouldn't be thinking, I'd just be going, okay, well, let's get around this by doing that, and let's get around this by doing that, and you go, well, that's not an effect shot, and you'd be like, not trained enough to get that right on the big scale. And I think that's totally what happened with episode 1, 2, and 3. It's just like he just
But
wasn't.
surely they brought in experts who were.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got, yes, but there's still, like, the director is still the guy who is pushing it all forward. It's like, it's his passion project still, even at the time. It's like, it's
No doubt.
it's
yeah.
his company on the start of the film.
Whether to include Jar Jar or not is a decision that rests almost solely at his feet, I would say.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, totally.
But how to green screen something and how to light that is probably not his.
No. But I think there's like,
But
so
then
we want like quick ways of getting around stuff, and so does he. He just has that ability to go, okay, I'm not sure about this scene.
But
It might work,
do you
it
think
might
somebody
not work.
said that's not going to look quite right, and he said, "Don't worry about it. We just need to get it done." Do you think that's what happened?
Yeah, probably. There was probably a ton of that, but there was also probably a ton of like thinking at the start. It's like, well, that we don't need to build a set for that. And at the time it was made, it's like that's why the effects stuff maybe shows through, because it's like, well, you probably still need to build some sets because effects has only come so far. But he's like, no, we can get away with this. It's fine. Let's just green screen that. And it's like there was a lot of people not saying no to him. But yeah, I just feel bad really that he didn't, because Star Wars kind of knocked him on his ass, and he didn't want to direct again because it was a horrible experience. So like, just coming back, it's like he's missed, like, what's the time frame, 20 30 years, almost 25 years of not making films in that way.
What was he doing in that time?
He was producing a lot of things, so he was like coming up with ideas and he was coming up with stories, but he wasn't like actually on the ground directing
He did a lot of stuff with
stuff.
Spielberg, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He just wasn't actively directing anything, and that's a very different role from like producing stuff. Very different. It's like Spielberg is good because he kept going. It's like he did his Jaws and then kept going, kept refining. But George Lucas just sort of skipped a big step. And that's why we've got episodes 1, 2, and 3.
But that doesn't explain the ideas. But anyway,
The ideas.
like what elements he chose to focus on in the stories is not really.
I think that's
director-related.
that's just a
Bad
maybe
storytelling.
it's a like, yeah, it's a little bit bad storytelling. It's a little bit like not understanding so much the world he created, because although he did create it, he didn't direct 2 and 3, and I think he was maybe a little bit hands off, because I think that's just the kind of guy he is. So when he wrote episode 1, 2, and 3, it's kind of like, it's like second draft almost. It's like Star Wars. Yeah, that'll probably work. That kind of fit in there. And it's like, it's not like he's like super passionate about like refine. Everyone's gonna love this. Everyone's gonna love this, which is a little bit why the new film's exciting, is because J.J. Abrams is looking at it like that. He's like, okay, got to micro-analyze this script because it's got a mass appeal, but it's also got to be like fit within the Star Wars universe. So I'm going to like refine the story. Whereas George Lucas writes episodes 1, 2, and 3, and it's a bit like, this is my thing. I do what I want. I'll just do this, and he did it.
Yeah.
Damn.
You're probably right.
That's my Star Wars. The rant out of the way.
Doesn't that feel better?
It does feel better. Because it was almost on the verge of like watching Star Wars and going like, I cannot believe I ever liked this film. Because it's okay. But again, not having that been there when it first came out, it's like, I remember it when I was a kid when I didn't necessarily know any better. Growing up now, it's like, whoa, there's some really horrible stuff in there. Empire Strikes Back is good though. Because we watched that for Secret Cinema, and that was only... When was that?
Last year.
No, that was
This year.
That was this year.
August. July. June.
Whenever it was, yeah, definitely this year. That was still... I did not get that effect when I watched that film. Which is good. That means I still like Star Wars, which is good.
Though, just to say, you were majorly hyped up at that event.
Yes. Yes, I'm going to watch Empire Strikes Back because Gemma's going to watch them all before we go see episode 7.
Oh, good.
So doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you're going to watch 1, 2, 3 as well?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nah. Don't need to. I kind of hope that none of that is referenced anyway.
Yeah, I know.
So no, but no, I've always liked Empire more than A New Hope. So
it's critically been sort of people.
Yeah, it does
analysed.
It just is better because it's part of Star Wars, like 2 films that have to run almost back to back. It's like the first one is standalone. Empire Strikes Back and Jedi is where it's kind of like, let's think through this a little bit more, and these characters now need to go from here, and then in Jedi they'll be here because obviously they leave Empire on a cliffhanger, whereas A New Hope isn't really left on a cliffhanger because they blew up the Death Star. The Death Star looks shit.
I quite like the half-made one though.
Yeah, the half-made one's cool. Yeah. Just round sphere thing just looks like it's just like a painted ball floating in space.
Oh, I don't mind that actually. Yeah,
think about the Death Star going through light speed because it can, and think about how if it can kind of calculate itself to get anywhere in the galaxy, it still takes it like 30 minutes to orbit that planet at the end. That really just bugs me. It's like, surely you can just go faster than that, or just like light speed straight to it.
There were reasons. That's not that bad. That's honestly not that bad.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean that readout is pretty bad of when they're doing that, but and I'm pretty sure the time doesn't correlate in the film because it goes a bit random, I think, from memory.
It's a mess. It's a bit of a mess of a film. We should definitely look into that in a bit more detail at some point.
Yeah.
Do some scene.
It's really fun because it's just like there's a guy in the back of that shot. Saw a guy in the back of that shot, or I knew it was taken. No, I think there's a bit when they first get on the Falcon in Mos Eisley and like, Chewie, get us out of here. They all strap themselves in around the little chest table with the weird monsters on, and then they're up in space, and then Luke and Obi-Wan go into the cockpit and like, oh, Star Destroyers, blah 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 blah, and it's like it'll be fine. It's like Han's doing his kind of macho talky thing, but as they're taking off and he's kind of doing that cool, yeah, we're safe now, there's like a little shadow of someone in the background walking away, and you're like, okay, that's totally taken from the next scene when they're in the cockpit walking away.
There's loads of mistakes. There's the guy who hits his head.
Oh yeah, but that's not a continuity thing. That's not like because if you watch the Star Wars like documentaries, it's like, you know, that the editors and stuff were literally using like flipped shots, and they looped that shot with the sound person going that's a looped thing going back and forth. So you know, and I know this from like the shoots that I've done, where it's just like I just don't have enough stuff, so I've got to try and find bits wherever I can. That's totally what they've done, and it's kind of cool, but it's kind of shitty in a way. So you can just see where they've gone like, well, that's a good reaction from this scene, and we'll put it in there, and that'll make more dramatic sense. And it's like, wow.
But I guess these days they can do that still, but they can just hide. You know, they'll use some digital effects to get rid of that shadow or whatever.
So not only are we going to watch A New Hope and analyze that, we're also going to watch the making of from Episode 1. Because there's literally a scene where he's like directing his editor, and he's like, take the performance from that shot and mix it with the performance from that shot, and it's just a scene in a ship. It's not an effect shot. It's just like it's a locked off camera, I think, and like they come into the cockpit, and he's like, okay, this performance with this performance, and the editor's got to like merge the shot together, and it's not it's just mental. So mental. And you're like, why would you make that decision? It's like, just because you kind of feel like you can, and maybe that performance is slightly better, do a better job on the set. It's just that shouldn't happen at that level. Like maybe when he was doing in New Hope, fine. Still a bad film, but come up to episode 1.
So you don't think those things do happen at that level?
I think those things do happen in modern films. I think that is the norm. I think they
do happen sometimes. Generally, they reshoot it.
Yeah.
If they don't, because that's, again, when you see it, it's not a shot that requires anything other than a little wooden set to be built and get those actors back. And I know that's expensive, but it's like, it's episode 1, so whatever. If they're cutting these people together because they got a really bad performance on the day, it's like someone is fucking up on that set and not going, we'll do it again. And that's...
But if they're two just very similar ones, but someone's got a slightly different facial expression or something and you prefer it,
it's entirely too much effort to go to for that. That's just he's not that kind of filmmaker, and I don't understand how he would make that decision. Like, he's not the kind of micromanage this little bit here, this little bit there. He's just like, yeah, we can do that, let's do that. I like that, do it. And someone will do it.
But what I mean is, like, that little face movement.
But it's not a pivotal scene.
But it doesn't
You
matter.
need to see.
Okay, all right.
No, I know that's a sucky thing to say, but when you see it, you're just like, that's. So the guy.
Do you think he's just doing
the
it
guy
for the
who
sake of
the guy who's
doing it?
editing it is just like, okay, so you want me to resync like both leading actors, and he's like, yeah. But that documentary is amazing. It's
that
an amazing
on the
documentary. It's on the disc. We can
disc?
watch it now, but we will watch it when we'll set
I
up
haven't
a
seen
recording.
any of the making ofs
No.
or documentaries.
The first one's the only one that's worthwhile, is because that's before anyone had any idea of what.
I'd like to watch
episode one was
the
gonna be.
original making ofs. Are there making ofs?
There
of the
aren't
original?
really those. You can watch like the making of Star Wars, and you'll see bits of that. Get the books. Actually, are the best things to do. They do a really good series of behind the scenes sort of photography that they've pulled together. I think they started with The Empire Strikes Back because, again, there isn't a ton of stuff for A New Hope because they didn't know what it was at the time, but there's loads for Empire and Jedi, and those books are really cool. Kind of shows you like actors just hanging out on set and stuff, and there's some really nice stuff in there. I think they have done a New Hope one, which would be cool to look at.
Well, I guess that's the less, more of a sort of trying to find photographs that people have taken, and whereas
But there isn't like a making of. There wasn't like a follow people around the set
Yeah.
because it wasn't a big deal until it was out.
yeah,
So there isn't a lot of that. There's just a lot of people's accounts of things which are quite cool. And there's a lot of like actors in there who get like quite a few like expositional lines who are like the Imperial guys, and you're like, wow, you got a really big role. Where are you now? It's like you're in Star Wars. It's like I kind of want to go and find out where they are. Like Porkins.
Do you want to be in a short film?
Yeah, I like Porkins was funny. That's just always funny. You know the Rebel pilot?
yeah.
Cover me, Porkins.
I'm here.
And that scene's funny. There's an X-wing that really bugs me as well. There's an X-wing in the hangar, and it's like, so the X-wings are two wings,
Yeah.
top and bottom, that separate. There's
Yeah.
one that's just one wing. And I'm like, did they cut back on that? But
How
see
do you
it
know
and
it's
like,
not the two wings closed?
because there's no light. It's like super thin. It's just like they just messed up the.
It's picking on.
I am picking on things.
Okay, then.
No, but it's like stuff like that. Like I already knew that, and it's like that's always bugged me a little bit. But it's like there's way more like bad stuff in there. We'll do that at some point.
No, there's plenty of holes in it, but that's not the point, is it?
No, it's not the point. It's not the point. It's just
It's
it
interesting
really,
if it's only now that you're noticing.
Yeah, and it really detracted a little bit from the film. It's like I was laughing at the droids. I actually quite like the droids, and you spend 25 minutes with the droids, pretty much until any major like Luke story kicks in, and that's very funny.
I really don't like C-3PO.
He's in it a lot.
Yeah.
He's in it a lot, and I
He's the Jar Jar Binks of the.
I didn't mind it, but
There's an element of that.
I think he gets some cool. He gets some funny lines, and like I was.
When I was a
genuinely-
kid, he was probably one of my favourite characters. Just-
Yeah.
I think he's comic relief. He's there for the kids, kind of a bit more, and I think you kind of when you watch it as a grown up, you do forget that it was a kids' film.
Yeah.
So
It's like he's having these one-sided arguments with
I mean,
R2D2 because you don't know what he's saying. And like C-3PO is just like relaying back a retort to something R2 said, and you just fill in the blank of what R2 said. That stuff's really good. That's a nice thing. My mind's going into other things. We'll do it when we watch it through properly. But yeah, it didn't come off well.
yeah,
That Jabba scene is a mess as well.
the Redux version.
Yeah, with actual Jabba. in.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
There's a duplication of lines as well. It's like, so he's talking to Greedo, before he shoots him, and that's all messed up. But I think they've retconned that now. He now shoots first again in the latest version you can buy. But Greedo does the line about Jabba doesn't trust like smugglers who drop their cargo at the first sign of like an Imperial like boarding or whatever. And then Jabba says the same thing in the next scene when you see him walking around with Jabba, and you're like, that's the same information. And then there's a guy who looks like Greedo in that scene. Yeah. And he's like walking around him.
Yeah.
And Han's lines are duplicated as well. It's just a mess.
The The song in Jabba's place, like the first time you see.
Oh, in Jedi.
Yeah, Jedi.
Yeah, it must be Jedi.
They changed
when,
it.
when they're on the sail barge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the new one is a big old dance number now. With-
Like, how
What
did
was
they
wrong
ever
with-
think that would blend into the film? That stands out like you just
Yeah,
suddenly
why-
changed the channel.
Why was the old
Like,
one
what?
so bad? I really like the old
because
one.
there wasn't much to it.
It was good. It was catchy.
No, there wasn't. No. There wasn't really a song at the start of.
Did you
in
ever see?
Jedi?
There was like Men in Black. They did a music video.
Yeah.
And it had like an alien.
Yeah.
Was it that alien?
No.
Because they look pretty similar.
No. It's Mikey from Men in Black.
Mikey.
That's what he calls him.
I'm trying to remember now.
Things on his head that go like that.
No.
Yeah.
There was another one.
Yeah, no.
There was a
it's
female singer
Mikey. Oh,
In Star Wars, yeah.
as well. No. In Men in Black's one, I think.
No, there was.
Maybe
I don't think so.
No, maybe there wasn't then.
I don't think
Maybe
so.
there wasn't.
No, there's a female with the big long snout and the lips on the end
Yeah.
called Nice Noodles, I think. And there's Max Rebo, who I think is the
Didn't know you
blue
knew so
keyboard
much.
player.
How do you know that?
And then, because I like Star Wars a lot,
the blue with
like,
the flappy nose.
and the elephant type guy. And then, but the guy who's singing,
You
that,
know their names, but not that they
but
don't
I think
shoot.
maybe
them.
maybe Max Rebo is the guy, because there's another guy singing. Anyway, let's not get into that.
That's not.
I don't know enough. There are people who know way more than me. I've not been watching Star Wars for a long time, so
Yeah.
I'm behind.
You need to catch up.
But anyway, that was the most offensive scene for me out of all of them.
Really,
Yeah.
not Hayden Christensen showing up as a Force ghost at the end of Jedi.
That was quite bad. That was quite bad.
It's quite bad. Here's someone you've never seen before.
Yeah.
To Luke, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I've never seen a picture of my father or anything like that when he was younger, and it's like, oh, who's this guy? He's just showed up next to Yoda and Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that whole scene is just so confusing because it's like, yeah, I know why you've done that now.
Yeah,
But
yeah, no, it's poor.
if you were ever watching that for the first time,
I think I think
you know.
When did they add it? I know they had it in, but so they did the
they added that when they released the DVD. So this is when I watched Star
they
Wars
did
again.
the reversion.
It was the DVDs that came out after. Oh, actually, no, when was it?
because they did
'Cause
the
there was
Redux
The first
versions before-
DVDs came out 2003,
Like special edition.
Christmas 2003.
So they must have done a
So they've
Special
done.
edition
They're doing
too.
it all the time. They
Yeah.
are every time they release a new one. I think there's something new going in because I
Yeah.
do think they've taken them off now. I don't know. I could be wrong, but they are changing
Did
stuff
you-
all the time.
So you chose to watch that rather than the original cinema releases.
Yes.
So I wanted to watch the original cinema releases, and
Yeah.
I was going to do that, but the sound was so bad that I couldn't.
I don't think they gave a shit when they put them on the disc.
those
literally
DVDs
just-
are awful.
Mm.
They're you got the
Oh, it's 4:3 and
4:3
yeah,
and
nasty 4:3
just-
as well. Yeah.
I think you should
I have
try
the-
and
I have
get
the
hold
versions
of
if you want
the
Well,
original.
no, they were on the disc that you lent me.
No, I have the HD versions that people have
Ah,
cobbled
I see.
together.
Oh.
If you want them, I
Yes,
have those.
I'd like
So
to.
we could do those. We need Ollie to make his little cinema room
Mm.
and put a load of heaters in because it's quite cold at the moment. But yeah, we need him to do that, and then we'll watch them all.
Yeah.
Or just, I don't think you need to watch Empire and Jedi. Just A New Hope. I think that's the only one that really requires seeing the old one.
Let's do that. Maybe we could do it as an episode.
Yeah,
Record us
yeah.
doing commentary.
I think we should. Yeah, I got so much to say about A New Hope.
We'll just listen.
Well,
Watch
warn
it while
people.
listening
It'll
to
be like
This
Guys,
is going to be
stop,
one
like,
massive rant.
Pause. Right. Keep talk about this. Like, keep going. All right. Pause. It'll be like
Can't-
every
can't
5
pause
minutes.
it
Sure you
when you're
can.
doing a
No,
commentary.
you can't.
It's the rules. Them the
Oh
rules.
man, this
It's
is
going to
be,
take like 2 hours as it is if you
Yeah.
can't pause and
It's going to
talk.
take a while.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we've spoken about short films, and the Star Wars thing was kind of related, even though we talk about Star Wars
Yeah.
a lot. But it's going to be the way until December
Forever.
16th.
No, we'll have a break, I think, 2016.
What, all of 2016? We're not going to mention Star Wars once?
No, we'll mention
No,
it, but
until
I
like
think
Good.
for our many listeners that aren't that interested in Star Wars,
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
I think we should have a little break for a year.
Yeah, we'll get loads of listeners, and then we'll scare them all off by
Yeah,
repeatedly talking about Star Wars.
exactly. Especially as there's no new content. It's like
Sure.
repeatedly talking about
Yeah,
what exists.
yeah, Yeah.
for the last 40 years.
Yeah. All right, cool. Anything you guys want to add? We got one more film to make next weekend.
Do you know what it's going to be yet?
It's just going to be a short film.
Have you
Awesome.
got an idea?
Sci-fi.
Cool.
Cool. Look
See
forward
you then.
See you on Friday.
See you on Friday, where we're not going to do a late. Well, we did it. We weren't too late this week, but that was mostly because we were tired and we're just like, yep, that'll do.
Yeah,
I ran
we
off to a
were
gig.
we were done. That was
Yeah.
that was hard.
Yeah. It was. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, guys. I will see you in 2 weeks, where we would have finished all 3 films.
Finish filming.
No, we would have finished all 3 films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not signing up to that. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But yes, we would have filmed.
We would have filmed them all, yeah, and we would have finished them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
See you next
Bye.
time.